Okay guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about how to set up your Cornell Notes. I got an example back here on my board and I want to explain what these blue dots and the red lines are. The blue dots are the holes in your notebook paper and the red line is the factory margin. Those are already there. You're not adding them. You're not drawing them on. The black lines here and here, these are the edges of your paper. Okay, you don't draw those on the paper. They're already there. So this is how you're going to format your notes. And every piece of it has a purpose. It's all intentional. Right now, we're not going to worry too much about why these pieces are in place. We're just going to worry about what needs to be where. Your learning standard and your essential question go at the top left of your paper. Now, if you don't have a learning standard or an essential question to add to the top of your notes, that's fine. Leave them blank. We can backfill them in later, and we'll talk about how to backfill your standard and essential question in another video. On the right-hand side of your paper, the top right-hand corner is where you put your name, date, class, and class period. These are also important. They go here for a reason. You need to make sure that you're following this process step by step. Remember, all of these steps are purposeful. And even if you don't fully understand the purpose right now, you will get it later. It will make sense later on. This is the label of your notes, but all of this is the heading. The heading is very important. Now, if you want to start your heading at the very top of the paper, that's fine. If you don't want to start your heading until you get a little farther down and start it on the first line of the paper, that's also fine. Remember, you're not trying to cram as much information onto the page as you possibly can. You're trying to build a useful study tool. After you finish the heading, you're going to draw a line all the way across the page, separating the heading from the rest of the notes. Now, the next step is you draw a line across the bottom. This is for the summary. You're going to count up 4 lines from the bottom of your paper, and you're going to draw a line all the way across the page from edge to edge. After you've separated out the heading from the rest of the notes and the summary section from the rest of the note, then you're going to draw your margin. As a rule of thumb, you want this margin to be no more than 1/3 of the page, no less than 1/4 of the page. You're going to connect the heading and the summary with this line. You're not drawing this line from the top edge of the paper to the bottom edge of the paper. You're just drawing it from the heading to the summary. This is where your study questions go. Later on, we'll learn how you can put more than just study questions there, but for right now, this is what we're going to concentrate on. Everything else goes here. This is where all of your notes go. Don't make the mistake of thinking that Cornell Notes are only useful for a certain type of lesson. Cornell Notes are universally useful. Anything else that's going on in the class can go in Cornell Notes. You can put any kind of graphic organizer in the notes section of your Cornell Notes. If you want to do a Venn diagram, it'll fit here. If you need to make a chart or a graph, here's where you put it. Still draw the margin, because this has a purpose beyond simply organizing information. This is about how we process information. Now, when you're taking notes here, you want to make sure that you're skipping lines. We leave gaps in our notes so we can fill in gaps in our information. And I'll get into that more when we talk about revising and refining your notes. Right now, we're just worrying about how do you set up? How do you prepare? And this is how you do it. Those are the holes in your paper, in your notebook paper.